Hi everyone, Kitchen Coach Mary Colette Rogers here. Today we're making green beans with sauteed mushrooms and roasted garlic. From this recipe you'll learn 3 quick techniques for dressing up a simple recipe like green beans. You can add roasted garlic to it, sauteed mushrooms, and top it off with fresh herbs. Roasting garlic is an easy thing to do. We simply put a little bit of olive oil on that head of garlic, rub it around, and place it in a container. This happens to be an actual garlic roaster, but you can easily use just a small baking dish as well. Roast garlic in a 350-degree oven for about 45 minutes to an hour. It depends on how big the head of garlic is. You'll know the garlic is done when it's nice and soft. Go ahead and pull the lid off, squeeze it, and if it's nice and squishy, then you'll know that garlic is going to be done. Roasting garlic does something almost magical to it. It makes it mellow and sweet and turns it into a creamy, buttery paste. Okay. Pop the garlic open so that the cloves come apart. And then there's 2 ways of doing this. One is you can squeeze the clove of garlic out and you can see how soft and buttery it is. Alternatively, you can simply pop each clove out just by hand. Sauteing the mushrooms is the next stage in this recipe. Now we're going to go ahead and start slicing the mushrooms, and I don't always cut off those bottoms unless they look a little bit rotted, in which case I simply slice them off, and then the mushrooms get sliced into between 1/4 and 1/8 of an inch thick. Start by heating the oil up. Again, we want to get it to where it's got that sheen to it and it's very runny. Add the mushrooms and stir to separate them. Then we'll let these cook on pretty low heat for maybe 15 or 20 minutes, and they'll turn a nice, deep, rich brown, and that's when they've got a lot of flavor, and we'll add them to the green beans at that point. While the mushrooms cook, go ahead and cut up your green beans, which can be done in a couple ways. If I'm doing it with the knife, I grab a handful, tap with the blade of the knife to get the ends even, snip off those ends, turn them around, do the other end, and then slice on the diagonal. Alternatively, you can grab a handful and just snap the beans off with your hand, which can be kind of nice to just actually touch those vegetables and enjoy them, and then slice that handful. The green beans are cooked in a cup of vegetable broth, and the reason we're doing that is it's a cross between steaming and boiling. The green beans come out nicely tender but not mushy. We'll put the lid on those and then we'll let them steam for about 10 minutes. Okay. This is also a good time to give those mushrooms a stir. You should be stirring them about every 5 minutes just so that they don't burn, but you can begin to see how they're starting to get a nice deep golden brown, and that's what we're looking for. While the green beans continue cooking, we can also cut the fennel. This is a bulb of fennel, and typically for eating we eat the white portion down here. But that doesn't mean we need to waste these wonderful ends. These little fronds can be cut up and used as a fresh herb on top of a lot of kind of dishes. We're going to use them on top of the green beans today. So we'll just pick off the featheriest parts and then chop them just as we would with any herb, with the point of the knife down and going along, chopping them into a pretty fine cut and chopping the other way as well. Probably about a tablespoon is all you'll need. After about 10 to 15 minutes, the green beans will be crisp tender and most of the broth will be evaporated. Go ahead and add the roasted garlic, and we use a large-sized fork to begin mashing it, incorporating any of the leftover broth that's in there. And then as you're mashing too, we add that last tablespoon of olive oil, which turns it into a nice soft paste which will mix well with the green beans. Once the garlic has been turned into a nice smooth butter, go ahead and then stir in the green beans until they're thoroughly coated. So there's our first accent, is the roasted garlic, and of course you could stop at just this point if that's all the time that you have. But if you want to add even another gourmet flair to this dish, stir in those sauteed mushrooms, being careful not to burn your hand on the pan. And then for our third and final gourmet accent, sprinkle it with the fresh fennel. Add a little bit of sea salt and a few grinds of fresh pepper, and your dish is done. And with those 3 steps, we've transformed simple green beans into a gourmet dish.